Hello again, everyone. This is Vekevia Jones, and welcome back to Real Life Planet. All right, so today we're going to talk about something that I don't think gets enough attention, especially when people are excited about house hacking, and that is the rules around owner-occupied loans. So, yes, house hacking is legal. Using FHA loans, that's legal. Using a conventional loan is illegal. And absolutely building wealth is certainly allowed, but there are rules that are important to consider. I don't want any of you to accidentally break the rules just because no one explained them to you in plain English. So today we're covering a couple of things. Number one, the 1 year occupancy rule, whether you get house hack with a conventional loan, how FHA and conventional loans differ for house hacking, and then when you can buy another home and actually keep the first one as a rental. That's important. And what actually counts as occupancy fraud. This is one of those know it now, think yourself later episodes. So let's get into it. When a lender says owner occupy, they mean one simple thing, and that is that you intend to live in the property as your primary residence. Now, I am not a realtor and I'm not saying that I know all the rules. I'm saying that you definitely want to check with them, but typically it is that you intend to live in that property as your primary residence. Not sometimes, not I'll visit, when it's convenient, and not my cousin will stay there technically. So it's almost like I'm living there. It means you move in, you live there literally like full time, and it's where you receive your mail. It's where you actually live your life. Now, here's the key part that people often miss is that owner occupied does not mean you can't rent out part of the property. It's still owner occupied. That's why house hacking exists. You can live there and rent, right? All at the same time. We've spoken about that a number of times, right? So that's like a room, a basement, another unit, whatever have you. As long as you live there, you're meeting the requirement. Most owner occupied loans, both FHA and conventional, actually have what's called a 1 year occupancy requirement. So in normal human language, that just means that you agree to live in the home for at least 12 months after you buy it. Now that is intent based and not like prison. So like life happens and there might be a job relocation, marriage or divorce or kids, health issues, you name it. And those are like legitimate reasons to move. Now, what lenders typically care about is, did you intend to live there when you bought it? If the answer is yes, you'd be fine. And just to be very clear, house hacking during that year is completely allowed. So this is where a lot of confusion lives. So let's slow this down a bit. You'll often hear people say FHA is basically the best way to do house hacking. They might say FHA is the house hack loan. And then others might say, no, conventional is better. So you can technically house hack with either of those, both FHA and conventional loans. They just work best in different situations, if you will. And let's put that down clearly. Conventional loans and house hacking. So conventional loans allow house hacking when you live in the property, you rent out rooms or units, you follow the occupancy rules. With conventional loans, rather, you can do a couple things or a number of things. You can buy a single family home, you can rent out bedrooms, you can buy a duplex and live in one. You can buy a multi-unit. I would say that the loans are actually a great option for house hackers because of a number of reasons. Number one, PMI, it could drop off faster. Rates are competitive, long-term costs could potentially be lower. Now, where conventional really shines is with room to room by house hacking and buyers with strong credit, or even in situations where buyers who have a bit more cash saved. Here's where FHA often gets highlighted, if you will. With the FHA loan, you can buy 1 to 4 units. You only need 3.5% down, and you must live in one of the units. Yes, with FHA, you can also buy a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, right? You can live in one unit, rent out the others. That's why FHA comes up so often in house hacking conversations, because it's one of the easiest ways for first-time homebuyers to access multi-unit properties without needing a ton of cash. Now, the trade-off is the mortgage insurance lasts longer. So your total cost can technically be higher over time. So FHA isn't necessarily better, it's just more accessible, and especially for multi-unit house hacks. So the real takeaway is, let me just say it in plain English. FHA is powerful for multi-unit house hacking when cash is tight. That's something to think about. And conventional is often excellent for single family and roommate housing. The best loan is the one that fits your finances, your credit, the type of property you're buying in your long-term plan. So, this is one of my favorite questions. After you've met the 1 year occupancy requirements, you generally are allowed to do a couple of things because people will ask me, like, when can you buy another home and keep this one like as a rental? So, after you've met that 1 year occupancy requirements, you could maybe move out. You could decide that you want to buy another primary residence. You could decide that you want to keep the first home as a rental. This is how people slowly build portfolios. Now, lenders will look at things like your income, your debt to income ratio, your credit, sometimes rental income from the first property, right? But there is no rule technically I'm aware of that says you can only ever have one owner occupied loan in your lifetime. You just can't pretend every house is your primary residence at the same time. So, what actually accounts as occupancy fraud? Let's the line you do not want to cross. So, occupancy fraud is when you say you'll live there, but you never intended to, and you use an occupied loan anyway. You don't want to do that. Examples could be like buying a house and never moving into it, renting the entire property immediately, listing it as a short term rental right away, claiming it's your primary residence while living somewhere else full time. Obviously, we mentioned that there are some situations where you might be able to move out. We're talking about your intent and then what you initially did here. And what is not fraud typically is going to be like you rented out rooms while you lived there. Life changes that came up and forced you to move, or moving out after you meet the occupancy requirement, obviously, or buying another home later. Intent matters, paper trails matters, the honesty matters. This is not about being scared. It's just about being smart. Why does this matter for like real life planning? I'm serious about the topic because sometimes it comes up and people think that it's lax. And I'm always like, it is important that we follow the rule. You don't want to get into unnecessary situations that are negative for yourself. So, house hacking is a long term wealth strategy, and you don't want loan problems, refinancing issues, legal headaches, or like stress because nobody explained the rules. Now, when you understand owner occupied guidelines, you can better plan basically. You make a plan for yourself and you can move confidently. It's not about gaming the system, you're protecting your future self and you're using the system correctly as it's intended to be used. All right. And that's today's episode, guys. This is real life planning where we turn real numbers into real possibilities. I'm your host, Vekevia. And remember, wealth is built in real life by real people making real moves. I'll see you in the next episode.